I'd like to welcome everybody to today's presentation of Integrative Behavioral Health. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Snipes, and today we are going to be talking about organization in our series, 6 Weeks to a Happier, Healthier You. Let's think for a minute about how disorganization adds to stress. For me, storage containers and lids. It drives me crazy looking for lids when I have a storage container. I personally am a little bit obsessive about having my lids on my storage containers when they're in the cabinets. Yes, you can't stack as many things in the cabinet when you do it that way because you can't nest them. However, it saves a lot of time struggling trying to find that missing storage lid. So for me, that works. It doesn't work for everybody. But all of us struggle with the whole, where is the lid to this container? So having a strategy that works for you is going to be really important. My stepmother used to have all of the dishes nested very nicely, so it took up less space. And then she used a plate organizer, and in each one of the slots, she put different sized lids. So she knew, right where the medium and the large lids were. So that was another way to look at it. Forgetting stuff at the store or running out of stuff. Nothing is worse than being in the bathroom and realizing you have no toilet paper, or trying to cook something and realizing that you have no butter, eggs, milk, whatever it is you need, and having to go back to the store to get it. Now, obviously, in that very moment, you've got a lot of other stress that's happening, but sometimes you leave the store. I know I've done it myself. I'm actually walking out of the store. I've already waited in line. I've already checked out, and I'm getting to my car and I'm like, I forgot. And I need to go back in to get stuff. So forgetting stuff at the store can waste a lot of time that is so precious in our lives. And it can cause frustration either when you realize that you've forgotten it or at some very inopportune moments. Losing your keys. How many of you have lost your keys or not been able to find them in the morning when it's time to go? And I know if my husband is watching this right now, he's rolling his eyes. He's like, that's you. And it is. I try to remember to always put my keys in my purse and put my purse on the foyer table. Doesn't mean I always do it. And the days that I don't do it, that increases my stress as I start my day because I'm frantically running around looking for my keys. How much more energy would I save? How much more positive would my day start off if I really focused and remembered to put my keys in a place? Some people have a key hook by the door. Wherever works for you. I find if I can't find my keys, or if I can find my keys, a lot of times I can't find my purse if they're not together, which is why I put those together in the foyer area. Work or school papers and supplies. Whether you're in college, you're in high school, or you are, working, you may have things that you need for work, whether it's your briefcase, papers, your cell phone. If I remember when I worked at a chain store when I was in college, I had a smock that I had to wear. And obviously I needed my uniform pieces. You may need your nameplate, whatever it is that you need. Make sure that you know where you store it, so the beginning of your day does not end up chaotic. Paying bills and remembering holidays is also something that can be more easily accomplished, and you pay more attention to it if you are organized. For example, where we live, our water bill comes and it is this little thing that's smaller than a postcard. And with all of the junk mail we get, it is really easy for that silly little bill to kind of get shoved into things as the post person is putting mail in our mailbox. So knowing that, having a notification on my calendar that, it's we need to remember to pay the water bill, then if I haven't seen it come through, it triggers me to log online and pay the water bill. So it's a lot easier. So organization comes in many different forms, and it can be very, very helpful. Talking about our PACER benefits of organization, it's not just creating a neater environment. Although when your environment is more organized, if you follow feng shui, it would say that the qi has a better flow throughout your living space, throughout your working space. But in general, people tend to feel more relaxed and lighter when they are not feeling like they're drowning in stuff. So physically, organization can actually reduce stress, especially for people who like to have things tidy. But when we're organized, then we know where everything is. We're not stressing about, I wonder where this happens to be. When we're organized, it helps with our allergies. If you don't have crap everywhere, it's a whole lot easier to dust and get rid of the dust and the dust mites and the animal dander and whatever else that you're allergic to. So you can run that microfiber cloth over flat surfaces really quickly. You can Swiffer really quickly. You're not having to, move heaven and earth in order to try to get the vacuum or the Swiffer around. And you can find your needed medications, food, and toiletries easier. You're not standing there looking in the refrigerator forever, and you don't run out of them. How much does it really suck if you are, taking your medication in the morning, if you have your allergy meds or any other kind of meds, and you realize that, oh crap, this is my last dose. If you had it organized, you would have noted ahead of time that, on February 2nd, I need to call in for a refill. Or, I note on the refrigerator that we are about out of toilet paper. And then I know when I go to the grocery that I can get it. Affectively, when we're organized, we tend to be more relaxed because we're not stressed out about trying to remember where we put something. And that helps us be more confident as well. When we have more energy, when we're more relaxed, we feel like we know what's going on. It just helps with our mood. Cognitively, we tend to have a clearer head and improved creativity when we are more organized, because disorganization can trigger frustration, which is activating that HPA axis, which contributes to tunnel vision, difficulty with cognitive flexibility, and reduced creativity. It all comes back to that, multiple physiological axes, the HPA axis, the HPG axis, and the HPT axis. Environmentally, organization just helps us have a more pleasant environment. And I really encourage you to notice how you feel when you walk into an organized area versus a chaotic area. There's less wasted time, and again, you're going to probably remember to do things like send birthday cards or make that birthday call and pay your bills. Even if the bill doesn't come across your desk because it got shoved into some of that junk mail somewhere, you're going to remember to pay it so you don't end up with late fees or getting your power turned off or something horrible like that. Interpersonally, when you're organized, you tend to remember promises and important dates. You also tend to, when you're organized, you probably are keeping a list of things throughout the year that you note that your significant other, your friend, your family, whoever it is, may want for gifts or things that they like. So you can refer back to that. You're not sitting there a week before their birthday going, I don't know what the frig this person might want. You're more punctual because you're not running around at the last minute looking for that shoe that magically got lost because the puppy found it. You have more energy for your relationships, and there tends to be less bickering. When we are disorganized, we tend to activate that HPA axis because we get frustrated when we can't find stuff, which tends to make us more impatient with the people around us. So let's talk about some tips to get organized. And you can go online and find article after article after article of tips to get organized. And part of it is going to depend on your temperament. Judgers like me, if you go back to the CRCC or the Myers-Briggs, Jays like me really like a place for everything and everything in its place. We love our schedules. We love structure. Perceivers, like my husband, tend to like having a little bit more latitude. They get frustrated if it's hyper organized or if there's hyper structure to things. You need to know what works for you. If you are a perceiver, you are probably not going to like some organization tips because they feel too obsessive. They feel too like they're hemming you in too much. And that's okay. You need to figure out what works for you. So let's just talk about some of these things that tend to work for the majority of people. Bins, baskets, and buckets. A place for everything eliminates what I call flat surface-itis. Anything that ends with itis refers to inflammation. And so when your flat surfaces start to get inflamed, they start to grow, that can be frustrating. It can feel oppressive, and stuff gets lost in piles of other stuff. So have a bin, a basket, a bucket, or something for bills. So you can get one of those slat things, and I'll just jump down. Vertical spaces on walls can be very useful, even if they're in like your pantry or a closet, where you can have multiple little caddies, if you will, to put bills that you've got to pay, to put things that come in that you want to look at later. But you have them organized out of sight. Cleaners. Put all of your cleaners in one handy dandy carry container so you can do, especially if you have a multi-floor house, you're not running around going, oh crap, I forgot the wood polish downstairs. So have all the cleaners and what you need in a caddy. It'll also encourage you to pare down the number of cleaners that you use because you can only fit so much in the caddy. And there's a lot to be said. Y'all know I've talked about it multiple times over the past few weeks. There's a lot to be said for using a cleaner like vinegar or D-limonene, which is pretty much an all-purpose cleaner, degreaser, antibacterial sort of thing. Your keys and your purse. Have a bin, basket, or bucket, somewhere that you keep your stuff. For people who don't carry a purse, your briefcase, whatever it is you need that you know you have to have, your computer bag to walk out the door in the morning. I also keep my gym bag by the door because if I don't, I'll walk out without it and I'll be really frustrated. So whatever you need to walk out the door in the morning, have a place for it. It could be your mud room, it could be your foyer, wherever it is that makes sense to put everything together, and do it the night before so you're not running around at 6:29 when you've got to be out the door by 6:30 trying to find this stuff. Chargers are another thing that are essential to keep around because we need chargers for so many things in life. And I get very frustrated when we have all these power tools and all of these power tools that have chargers that go with them, but nothing is labeled. And it drives me nuts. I want to keep the power tool with the charger. A lot of the times the chargers don't say what they go to. It just says Black & Decker or something. So get a label maker or masking tape and a marker and identify on every charger what it goes to. So you know, that way when you are trying to get that power screwdriver out, you can find the appropriate charger. But it's helpful because chargers and cords and everything can get overwhelming. Figure out a way to organize your chargers. Now you have your industrial chargers like for your vacuum cleaner and your power tools and things. Those may need a bucket or a bin themselves. And, one of those $8 Tupperware bins from, the dollar store. And then you have your chargers for your stuff you use every day, like your laptop and your mobile phone and your tablet and whatever else. Have those organized. They have lots of neat caddies and charging stations that you can get now. Some of them can get pricey, but some of them are actually affordable. And you want to think to yourself, what is your return on your investment? Spending $10 now may save you over the life of that charging caddy, may save you 20 hours worth of struggling to find chargers. How much can you gain? How much can you do in those 20 hours that you would have lost looking for your caddies? Or I'm sorry, looking for your chargers. Use vertical space. I already talked about that. The backs of doors are very frequently underused. I got a shoe caddy that goes on the back of the door. Excuse me. And I have it on my closet, the back of my closet door. But instead of putting shoes in it, I have extra toiletries. That's where I have my extra soaps, my extra razors, my extra Q-tips. You see where we're going here. So I have a place for those things. When we go to the dentist and we get all those little travel size things that dentists tend to give you, I have a caddy for those things too. That way I always know where I can find my travel sizes of things, and I know where my backups are. So those things can be helpful. I also use, I think they're normally for shoes. They go on your not curtain rod, on your closet rod, but they're vertical and they've got little pouches in them. And I use those pouches to put my different scarves in. That way I'm not always struggling to find scarves. Another thing that you can do if you don't like that idea, use a really sturdy hanger, preferably a wooden one, because the plastic ones will bow and break. Trust me, been there. And you can use the cheap little round things that hold your shower curtain hooks. Put those over the wood hanger along the bottom, and then you can loop your scarves or your ties through those things. So that's a cheap way to have a scarf or a tie hanger. Schedule deadlines and email and push notifications. Now this, depending on your temperament, may be broader or more narrow. For me, I have multiple push notifications and things scheduled throughout the day, and I even schedule in things like working out, because if I don't schedule it, then it may not get done. That's just the way I roll. Opt for square storage containers. Square things, no matter where you're storing them, are going to are going to be more space efficient than round things. So whenever you can, opt for square storage containers. Use checklists. I'm a big fan of checklists, and you can get the sleeves that we used to use. I don't know if they still use them a lot in notebooks to protect the paper. And you can use a dry erase marker on those, so you don't have to have a new checklist every time. Or you can laminate it if you have access to a laminating place. But have a checklist of what you need for your gym bag, for example. How many times have you gotten to the gym and realized, oh, I forgot socks, or something worse? Same thing for your backpack or your briefcase if you are going to work or to school. What do you need every single day? For me, I need my glasses, I need a pencil, I need ink pens. You see where we're going here. This prevents us from walking out of the door in a hurry and forgetting something that is actually essential for the day. Same thing with shopping. Now, a lot of us, some of you may be very avant-garde and you don't eat the same thing ever. And for you, this might be a little bit more difficult. But with 2 children in the house, and we tend to eat similar things over the course of the month. there are things that I know are going to be staples in our household that I need to check on every single time I go shopping. Milk, bread, butter. We have chickens, so I never need eggs. But, it's important, or it can be helpful to have a shopping list of the things that are staples, so you can go through it really quickly before you go to the grocery store and mark anything off that you don't need to get, or vice versa. Mark the things that you do need to get, so you've got the basics. And then you can add to that list as you need. We keep a dry erase board on our refrigerator, and I take a picture of that before I go to the grocery store, because that has all of the things that we've run out of, or any special things that are not staples that we might need. So combining a checklist with a picture of the whiteboard can be really helpful to make sure that when I do go to the grocery, I get everything we need at once. Mark your storage boxes. It is so frustrating to be looking for something and see a bunch of storage boxes all neatly tucked away in the attic or in the garage, but not have a clue what's in each one of them. So when you try to store things, whether they're cardboard boxes or Tupperware boxes, mark them so you know what is in them and you can easily access it. If there are multiple things in it, then put multiple labels, and it's not hard. Masking tape. You don't have to have a label maker. Don't start getting too extravagant on me, or you don't have to. Some people really love having label makers, and they kind of go crazy with label makers. If that makes you happy, more power to you. Do one thing at a time and give it your full attention. Especially like with spring cleaning or something, I may start cleaning the kitchen, and then I go to put something away and I get sidetracked and I start doing something else. I'm kind of like that dog on, I think it was the movie Up, where he got distracted by squirrels all the time. But anyway, I digress. Make sure that you stay focused. It's helpful when you do things like spring cleaning to focus on one room at a time, or one task at a time. So when you're doing your weekly cleaning, maybe you're going to go through and dust all at once. However it makes sense to you, but give it your full attention so you don't get 3/4 of the way done and then get distracted and then get frustrated that you didn't get it finished. Store or eliminate things that you do not use. And we're going to talk about in a minute, borrow, don't buy. Let's talk about those both together. Some things you may only need once a year. So if you are, for example, entertaining for the holidays and you need I call it a buffet warmer. I don't know what it's really called, but it has, multiple bins for multiple kinds of food, and it keeps the food warm. Buffet warmer is the only thing I can come up with. That's not something, if you don't entertain a lot, you probably need very often. So check with the people that are coming, or even your friends who may not need theirs. See if anybody has one that you can borrow, because those suckers are big and they take up a lot of space. If you don't need it all the time, do you really want to spend the money on it? And do you really want to give away your precious storage space having it? So borrow, don't buy when possible for things that you don't use very often. For other things that you are not using, for example, your winter coats in the middle of summer, store them. Get the vacuum bags. I love those things. They squish everything down really nicely. When I do my vacuum bags, I put a dryer sheet in each one of them, so it tends to smell better when I open them the next time. But using the vacuum bags also has the benefit, if you vacuum them for long enough, allegedly that kills the dust mites. So that might be another benefit to a vacuum bag versus a box or a bin of some sort. We've talked before about going through your closet, and at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of the season, hang everything so the hangers are facing out. And for some of us, that gives us a nervous tick, but you get used to it for the benefits over time. As you use things, as you wear things, hang them back right side so the hangers are pointing the correct way. At the end of the season, anything that is still hanging, hangers facing out, that's something you didn't wear. And you really need to ask yourself, am I ever going to wear this again? If not, donate it. If you have 18 million pairs of socks, consider donating them to homeless shelters, because a lot of times people end up with far more socks than they need. I know we have that situation at our house, and it can be overwhelming sometimes when you have, when you're trying to sort socks and everyone has a slightly different cuff on it and it takes forever to sort. That's just me. But if you have extra things, consider donating them if you're not using them all the time. I mean, you really only need 14 pairs of socks, 28 if you do laundry twice a month and you go to the gym every single day. How many pairs of socks do you really need? Simplify. Try to get 3-in-1 space saver machines. We just got a air fryer, convection oven, microwave combination for my mother-in-law, and she really loves it. They have very limited space in their new house, and it cleared up a lot of space on her countertop because she did have other things and other appliances. Appliances take up a lot of space. So think about what you need and try to get things that are combination things that you can use. And try not to over-organize. If you over-organize, then you may not actually keep up with it. For example, and I will admit my drawers that I have. When we talk about, undergarments, I don't fold all my undergarments. I have a drawer where I have each type of undergarment in it. And that, for those of you who are obsessively organized, that is probably, like drawing fingernails down a blackboard to you. But it works for me. I know I will not be good about organizing and continuing to fold my skivvies every single week. So that works for me. It's up to you what's going to work for you. My husband, on the other hand, he wants everything tidy, and folded and rolled and that kind of thing. And more power to him. We've already talked about the refrigerator whiteboard, and you can use that for shopping lists. You can use that if you've got kids that you've got to tote from here, there, and everywhere. If you've got things coming up that you want to remind people of, whatever it is, refrigerator whiteboards can be really effective because everybody goes to the refrigerator. Manage your time. And a lot of the things we're talking about are going to help free up a lot of your time. But once you have that free time, manage it. Keep a list of things that you want to do, that you need to do. When I work with clients on time management, I have them make a list of everything that they need to do, and I just kind of put it out like that. And generally they have this list that just keeps going and going and going. And then I say, okay, I want you to go back and highlight everything that is a must do. If you don't do this, something bad is going to happen. You've got to pay your bills or they're going to turn off your lights. You got to pick up your kid from daycare. What are the things that you have to do? All right, highlight those. Those are the things that you need to figure out how to put into your day. Those are non-negotiable. Of those things, how many of them can either be simplified or delegated? Is there somebody else, maybe a neighbor or your significant other, who can pick up your kid from daycare or pick up your dry cleaning? Not everybody is that close with their neighbors, but some people are, besties, and that may work for them. So whatever is essential, figure out how to delegate what you can and simplify the rest. Yes, You may be the one that's in charge of making dinner every single night, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a 5-course meal from scratch. There is a beauty in casseroles and slow cooker meals and pressure cooker meals. So looking at things that can simplify. And when you cook in a slow cooker, for example, or the pressure cooker, then a lot of times you only have one dish. I'm big on casseroles because I hate doing dishes. So that also saves you time cleaning up the kitchen later. Get creative. Go online. Look for recipes that sound interesting, that can be simple, that can be made ahead of time. I try to make all of my long-term cooking things on Sundays. So my rice, my lentils, my beans, we're vegetarian, so we focus on those things. But those things take a long time to cook. So I make those in bulk on Sunday, and then throughout the week I can mishmash them and put them together however I see fit. And it only takes me 30 or 45 minutes on the outside to make dinner as opposed to an hour and a half or more. Chunk it. Some tasks can seem overwhelming, whether it's getting organized or doing a project for work or school, writing a term paper. Getting organized in that sense can mean chunking it. Let's talk about a term paper. Figure out what you're going to do it on. All right, that's chunk number 1. Take a break, reward yourself. Write an outline. Okay, that's chunk number 2. Take a break, reward yourself. Do, subpart 1 of your outline, then subpart 2, then you see where I'm going. So your chunks aren't longer than, 30 minutes at a time. Most people can put their head down and, knock something out if they know it's only going to take 30 minutes. But if they're looking at something that feels like it's going to be a 5-hour project, it may feel overwhelming. Same thing when you're cleaning out, a room, when you're organizing. Start out by saying, okay, we'll use the kitchen because that's an easy one. Chunk it. Today, or the first thing I'm going to do is clean the refrigerator. When I have that done, then I can go do something else. Then come back, okay, now I'm going to organize this cabinet over here, or whatever you're going to do. But it makes it seem and feel a lot less overwhelming. And you can chunk it over, as long as you don't have a deadline, you can chunk it over multiple days. If you are one of those people who hates cleaning, then maybe you chunk your organization over a period of a couple of weeks. So you do one part, of a room at a time. And then, after a month, everything's been cleaned and it's time to start again. So chunking can be really helpful. Once you get things organized, go through and declutter at least weekly. It takes a lot less time to go through and do maintenance than it does to have to start all over again. So waiting and just saying, well, once a year I'll do a big spring cleaning. Well, some people that works for them, but it takes a long time. If you keep up on it, then it's a whole lot easier to finish. Keep things easily accessible based on your frequency of use. For example, store your sheets in a container underneath your bed, so they are easily accessible when it's time to change your sheets instead of having to go, into a linen closet in some other part of the house or something. You're going to be more likely to change your sheets if it's easy to do. So think about how frequently do I use this and what room do I use it in and where can I store it so I can access it, relatively easily. Blankets. In the summer, you're not going to use blankets a lot. So again, storage bags, use those vacuum bags, and then you can put them somewhere where they are, out of your way, where you don't have to, paw through them to find other stuff that you need during the summer. Have a trash can and a recycling bin in every single room. It's really helpful because you'll find once you start doing this that just about every single room you'll end up with stuff that is truly trash that can't be recycled, but then you're going to have a certain amount of stuff that is recyclable. And if you're like me, I feel guilty if I throw recyclables in the trash. So they end up sitting on my bedside table or sitting on the dining room table or something because I don't have a recycle bin real handy. Put one in every room. Then once a week or once, however often your recycling comes around, go around and collect everything. Shop with a list. When we don't shop with lists, we tend to get stuff we don't need and forget things that we do need. And it takes longer because you're not as organized. I write my shopping list based on the organization of the store that I go to. Buddy up to declutter. If you have a friend with you, and you can do this, each person takes a turn, it can be helpful because sometimes you may get attached to something or not use good judgment about the things that you really actually need. And a buddy may be able to help you more objectively evaluate whether this is something you need or something that probably should be donated. So buddies can be great for helping us be more objective. For pictures, for artwork that your kids do, for bills that you have, anything that you want to remember, don't want to lose, but is on paper, take a picture of it. Pictures last longer. Digital pictures last a whole lot longer. And you can tag your digital pictures as you upload them to Google Photos or wherever you keep your pictures. And so you have them in the future. If it's something like receipts or your kids' artwork that you would be devastated if it was lost, make sure you have a backup somewhere, But scanning it in or taking a picture and tagging it to make it easy to find gets rid of all of that paper and all of those files. I mean, I know we have back from, 1990, we still have tax returns in the ceiling or in the attic. So, it's definitely helpful. Begin each day with a plan. And if you're a perceiving type of person, you're more spontaneous, just have a general idea what you're going to do that day. For those of us who are more structured, I like to think about, what steps I'm going to take throughout my day. And I have it broken down into like 2-hour chunks. Wear a watch. That way you can stay on time. Most of us are really bad at estimating how much time something is taking us, and we can run late. And when you run late, if you're not paying attention to the time, then you can feel more harried. So a watch helps keep you organized. And keep a list of activity, date night, and vacation ideas. So when it comes time, to do something, maybe it's Saturday and you want to do something with your family, you don't have to sit around kind of scratching your chin going, well, what do y'all want to do? You have a list of activities that at least one person in the group has suggested that you might do, and you can identify what the family might want to do. And that does save time because sometimes you forget about things. I know there is a place that is the next town up from us that has laser tag and bungee bouncing and all kinds of fun stuff that I've always wanted to go to, but my kids have resisted. But it's still on our list because one of these days I'm going to wear them down and we're actually going to get to go there. And the same thing for vacation ideas. You may be watching television and you see an advertisement for somewhere that sounds like a great place to go. But if you don't write it down, you may not remember it when you're trying to plan your vacation and you just end up going back and doing the same vacation that you do every single year. And then you end up frustrated because it occurs to you later that, oh, well, we could have done this, that, or the other. Obviously, these are not, and this is not an exclusive or comprehensive list of things to do to get organized. But I think for most of us, we can find 2 or 3 things on this list that can help us save time and reduce frustration, which will ultimately help us be happier and healthier. Do you all have any other tips that I haven't gone through that you're like, oh, Dr. Snipes, you really have to know about this one. This one made the huge difference in our lives. One of the things that I don't think I did talk about was hammocks. And my kids used to have lots of stuffed animals. They're older now, so they don't have as many. But they would use a hammock and they would attach it to the ceiling, and then all of the stuffed animals would be in the hammock, kind of like this great big stuffed animal Noah's Ark. And it got them up off the floor, off their bed, so it was easier to make their bed. But their beloved little stuffed animals were all still there. My daughter has been very creative about different ways to store some of her treasured stuffed animals, putting them on boards and, kind of making it almost like a little bungee seat and hanging the boards on the wall. So there are a lot of different ways you can do it. But those hammock things can be helpful or can be really useful, especially if you've got high ceilings, so it doesn't feel like the ceiling's closing in on you. For stuff that you want to have for some reason, but you don't use it, again, you don't use it every day, having a hammock up that contains those things can be helpful. You can also use hammocks that are suspended from the ceiling to store, or I call them hammocks, I don't know what else you would call them, mesh bags, to store balls, for example, your kids' sports balls. If you've got dogs, have a bin or a basket where you store the dog's play toys. We also have a bin where we store the dog's little outfits, because our dogs do have little outfits. Anything you can do so everything has a place can help reduce your wasted time and improve your mood and your energy. I am so thankful that all of you tuned in today. I know you are taking time out from your day, and I do appreciate it. Please remember, we do this every morning at 9:30 Central Standard Time, 10:30 Eastern. And I love to have you here. I love to hear from you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.